first things first, something Du and I actually talked a little bit about, and I said I'm going to talk about it on a podcast. The situation with Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3. Now, not Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3, because that's the original game. I'm talking about Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3, the new one, the 2023 game. So people are saying Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3, the game that was released in 2023, is very bad. I've heard lots of people say it's very bad. One of the most beloved Call of Duty games is Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3. Yes, the same name, but it came out a long time ago. One of them is Roman numerals. That is the new one. The original one is whatever you call regular
numerical
numbers.
Number.
Yeah.
So it's not a remake.
No.
This is even more confusing than I thought when I first joked with you about.
So people are very upset with the new game, and they are deciding, because some people are very childish, they've decided to review bomb the game. So they go to sites like Metacritic and what have you to go over and give the game a 0 and say it's garbage, it's the worst game that's ever existed, blah, 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 blah. The problem is they are review bombing the much beloved original Modern Warfare 3. So they're lowering the score of a game that came out over a decade ago, I believe. And they're so basically they're ruining the score of two games, a good one and supposedly a bad one. It's just so funny to me that they're so angry that this game is so bad, but they can't take the 2 seconds to figure out which one and make sure they're posting the review on the right one. Or
crazy. It's
they don't know the original one, so they're like, "Yeah, Modern Warfare 3, here it is."
That's what I thought was this situation the whole time. But
it's all possible. But
it does
yes,
seem rash, doesn't it?
It is pretty funny. I don't like review bombing. I think it's a silly idea that goes for review bombing of anything, movies, TV shows, video games, what have you. But I feel there's ways to be constructive with your criticism and actually affect change. But lots of people just want to be angry and mean, so they do things like review bomb. And it has led to now a game that was reviewed highly and praised by many getting its score lowered. So the circle continues, and I don't know what's going to stop it, to tell you the truth. But yes, in this situation, the name certainly doesn't.
How frustrating must it be for developers who work on that franchise, who they're like, I work on one of the most popular game franchises ever, and all the fans hate us. And it's like every single game that comes out, there's some kind of horror behind it. And they're making this like game that, I mean, and yeah, it's not for me or you, but like it's best selling, I'm sure, right?
Yeah.
Like that's the reason they keep farting these out. And can you imagine like being at a party as that developer and just like, hey, what do you do for a living? Oh, I'm a developer for one of the biggest franchises ever. Everyone hates us.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, like they hate us every single time. Like it's gotta be so. What's the opposite of fulfilling? Like
deflating?
Like, yes, like it's gotta be
teaching. Being a public
it's gotta be all of that, don't you think? Like,
oh yeah,
because I mean, if you're working on like Tears of the Kingdom and it comes out, you'd scream it from the rooftops. I'd almost be embarrassed to even talk about work in this situation.
That's why they were saying with Nintendo, Nintendo holds a ridiculously high employee retention rate, because everybody that wants to get a job there wants to be a part of Nintendo, and also they know they're going to work on games that are very likely to be highly critically acclaimed, and people are going to love them. So when it comes to Call of Duty, there are people who love those games, but yes, it seems like every time a new one comes out, it's the worst ever. There's never been a game worse than this one, and all that.
You're going to be real mad at me, or you're going to make a comment.
What are you talking about?
Why are people review bombing it? I was trying to catch up in the chat, and then I got a call from my dad. So
why are they review bombing it? Because they don't like it.
Oh, okay. So it's not because of like the merge or anything.
No, it has nothing to do with that. It's people saying because the game is bad.
They're upset
they
that
legitimately don't like it. It's not because somebody is like different than them.
There's a difference between legitimately not liking something and expressing that versus review bombing. Like, you don't go give something a 0 because you don't like it. How about
if you don't like it, you give it a 0.
I think a lot of it
you give it a 0 if you honestly think it's a 0. And if you honestly think it's a 0, I honestly think you need to rethink your stance. Is it really a 0? 0 to me means broken. You can't play it. Like, it's not functional. That's a 0. maybe a 1 if you think it's that horrendous of a game. Sure, but a 0, something has to functionally prevent you from playing the game.
Plus,
for
I
a
don't
0.
know for sure, but I think it's not that the game is necessarily that bad. I think it's that the single player is very
Yes.
short, and
I've-
they're like upset that it's like a lackluster like storyline.
I've
Is that
heard
what
the
people
usual.
get Call of Duty. For?
Well,
Is the
that's
single
the
player?
funny thing. I usually hear. All right,
Like, they
I'm
want-
hearing.
they want more multiplayer, and then they give them more multiplayer, less of like single player. Oh no, we want more single player.
I'm hearing all the usual complaints about multiplayer, so it's nothing different really there. But yes, all the vitriol I've heard has been aimed at the single player campaign, which apparently is very bad and very short. So,
yeah.
But again, let's say you
I mean,
are
if it's-
complaining
if
about
it's
this.
bad and short. That's probably great, right? You don't want it long and bad.
Yeah, it's very true. It's a
All
good
right.
point.
So,
So-
a 1 then doesn't
so-
get a 0.
So let's say that. Let's look at review scores. Let's say the multiplayer's fine and the single player's bad. Then you would review it a 5 or less. Like it's not going to be a 0 because single player is only one half of the game. Or so I would think some people might argue maybe just a third of the game. But there are people who play plenty of Call of Duty games who never touch the single player ever. So, but yeah, if the game is bad, I think it's important to give reviews that are critical and express your thoughts. Just can you do that, like, in a constructive way and a meaningful way, rather than giving it a 0 and being like, this game is, I'd rather have AIDS and like all stupid. Oh, I almost cursed. All stupid crap like that. Like it's silly. Like, come on. But it is still it's doubly silly because they're review bombing the wrong game. So. And that's also
that's the
Activision's
most-
fault because Call of Duty 3 and Call of Duty 3, you can't say them any different. You can't like writing a Roman
one is-
numeral versus a regular number. Yes, but you can't
Yeah.
say that
Yeah, you
differently.
could say
Numbers.
Call of Duty III.
I guess you
That-
could.
maybe that is how you say it.
I
Yeah.
guess you could. You're
Or you
right.
say
I.
3
That's what I was thinking.
or
Or Call of Duty.
Okay, yeah. I like that
Kurt
too.
Dog has an excellent suggestion. He said, "New Super Modern Warfare 3." That's perfect. Then you
yeah,
know.
right.
Or it came
That's
out
it.
in 2023, right?
Y-
So couldn't
That
it
is
be
the year of our
like,
Lord.
2020.
2023 instead of 3?
Yeah.
I it could, but I feel like down the road they wouldn't like that because it's going to age it. You know,
Yes, you
then
don't
they.
want to do that. Yeah.
But yeah.
But
And-
if you name them all the same, they're timeless.
Mm-hmm.